Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you didn't think you see me here, did you? Well, I aim to please the fans. Welcome to BBR Season 8 Power Rankings. I am your host of the most, Thriller 96. B may just call me Thriller for short. And there's some BBR coaches that know, but some that don't know. I'm doing Power Rankings this season. I have gone through these teams, looked through them, give my honest thoughts and opinions, and I have ranked these teams out of a score of 1 through 10, and then have ordered these teams from the number 1 team to the bottom team. We're going to go over our thoughts and opinions, tell you guys what I ranked these teams out of, and went over there. And I will also go over the way I decided to rank these teams as well and stuff. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, I am a competitive draft league player. I have played in almost every single league out there. I have even partaked in the BBR Summer Scramble, I think it should say. Summer Scramble. And unfortunately, didn't make it in there. And, well, I made it in there, but I didn't make it far in there. But we had a good time. There's always next time for the Scramble. But we're here to talk about the GOATs of the league. Some of the best talent you were ever going to see in Wi-Fi. And we have some really big names here. We're going to talk about the coaches real quick and my thoughts and opinions on them. And then we're going to break down this team. If you guys are excited and hyped for some BBR content, leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Join the Fruit today because we thrilling with the King of the Grow. And don't forget that I will leave a link. I will not leave. I will leave a list of all the coaches down there with their YouTubes down below. So you can definitely subscribe to every single one of them and get hyped for the season. Now, there's a couple things I'm going to mention here before we transition. First and foremost, some of the week games have been played and transactions have been made. Now, this video, Breaking the Fourth Wall, is being recorded on a Monday. So this video will not be posted until after week 1 games are played of the BBR. So the time you see this video, it'll either be on a Saturday, later in the night, or on Sunday for BBR. Because there were transactions that got updated going forward for the future weeks. Unless they were changed before week 1 or something. I don't know. But regardless, I went over what the current teams are on the dock and went from that. Obviously, if they get updated or fractured, I don't think there was too much that made a big difference or change. So, with that being said, let's go over our coaches. With the first pick, we have the Golden State Gallades, aka my good buddy OG Albina. He was last season champ, and I am proud to say I was one of those proud teammates he had that helped win him the championship. But this year, I'm gonna have to take him down because I'm supporting a new face this season. Number 2, we've got Matthew Drafts, aka Matt, or some may know him as Dr. Slacking. One of the funniest and just genuinely great guys out there. Just one of the most chill dudes and has probably the best draft analysis this season. I'm sorry, it's just the facts. We got my brother Obo with the more PQ United. Obo is definitely one of the longest people I've ever known in the draft league community. So very happy to see him continuing the BBR. And we've got the GOAT, my man, the Edmonton Oilers in Dell D Double. And I am so happy to see Dell back in draft. He's had to go through so much stuff with school and now moving, and now he's back. He's ready to get back into the grind of YouTube. And I'm super excited to have him up next. Up next, we have the Dundee Darmanitan's coach by Pokebaldi. Know a little bit about Pokebaldi, and I've had a little bit of interaction or just knowing of him from other servers. But based on some of the other stuff I've known, I'm just going to keep that information myself. He is the D League champion that got promoted to the main scene, the main league. So that's a big congrats to him. So we'll see how he does this season. Up next, we have, I believe it was 6 foot Hacks as the sixth pick. I'm pretty sure, aka the Carolina Hacksters coach. You may know him as the Durham Trotigons, and I remember him as the Durham Trotigons. But the Carolina Hacksters, it's nice to see a rebrand of logo. But Leo, he's only done, I think, 2 seasons of Gen 9 right now, and he's 1 for 1 on playoffs. So He's definitely got on the field of the gen and has definitely really gotten into it. I'm really happy to see Leo back in draft, and it's really awesome to see how he does. Up next, we have everyone's team favorite, if not the favorite of every season, Amel and the Montreal Ice Cubes. Amel is the type of guy that you would love to play against, but you hate to at the same time. You love to play him because he's just a cool guy. He's funny, he's witty, he's very talented, he's a great battler. But you hate it because you're not going to know anything he's going to bring. He literally will bring anything. He has swept people with Ice Cube. He's used an Ice Cube to beat a Mega Medicham. How do you do that? Abel does that. Anyways, up next we have my goat, my brother, and the man I'm going to help win this season's championship of the Minnesota Lycan Wolves. Just saying, New Britain Timberwolves. That would have been cool. But my boy Jason, aka Dietite, he was one of the main All Stars of D League last season. Unfortunately, finished semifinals, but he is ready to take the crown back, especially after he had an undefeated season at one point during the BBR. So I know my boy Jason Dietite is going to do it well here. Up next, we have Ark in the Jamestown Judgment. Ark is someone I don't fully know. I've seen a little bit of his videos from the D League. Seems like a pretty chill, cool guy. Kind of like the new. I think he had like a rebrand of sorts. I think maybe, but I love the logo. Really nice. I love it. Very excited to see how he does. He was a part of the D League last, just recently actually, and he got called up, so it's great. And I'm so happy, man. My guy, the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise and coach B, or you may know him as Kurt. Now, fun fact: he actually has a good friend Antonio. It's whatever Ant, whatever you want to call him. Draft this entire season, and Ant drafted pretty cool for Kurt. And they played Pictionary. Please watch that draft analysis. It is the funniest thing you'll ever see of your life, and it's awesome. But I'm more importantly just so happy to see Kurt back, man. He is honestly one of the best players in the league and is probably one of the most fun players to watch because he is like, I don't give a, like attitude every time he plays. And he's just a fun guy. He's funny as well. He's very talented. So, very excited to see Kurt back. Up next, we've got my brother, another one that I have known along with Obo for the longest time, John Jr., the Porter Nightshaders. 2 out of 3 appearances here so far, has made the finals back to back times and has been a little unlucky. Was very unlucky with last season because he grabbed a bad Pokemon in Dragon Ball. Yeah, that's why I said it. I said it. Why do I feel like there's pitchforks poking at me? Anyways, we got John here. Very excited to see John back in the BBR. Really hope he can take the crown this season, but he's not going to have an easy time with me and Jason on his back. Up next, we have the GOAT of Draft League, the founders of one of the best Pokemon competitions that was out there back in its time, the APA Panther and the Carolina Fables. Panther is actually someone I battled both times, and he has smoked me both times. I was pretty much a rookie that didn't know what I was doing. But he gave me a chance for APA. I won an APA championship, so glad to see Panther back. Up next, we have T-Row and the Columbus Cobalions. I don't know a lot about T-Row, but T-Row, was a D League Season 1 champion of the BBR's D League, so massive congrats to him, and I'm looking forward to how he does. I've got mi hermano, mi brother, mi guy, San Diego Spirits, coached by the Grandmaster himself, owner of the BBR, Grandmaster D Ray. Really happy to see Daniel coming back in full swing of effect, and he's obviously one of my underdogs slash people I just want to see win type of guy. Just because I just know that he deserves a championship. There are so many times he's deserved to have a championship, and I really wish he had gotten his championship win. Up next, you have my boy, the best letter in the alphabet, Q, the Costa Rican, GBA champion. With honor, he has that, despite everything the GBA stands for. But it's nice to see Q back. Apparently, Q has taken a bit of a hiatus break from Draft League. So they're very happy to see Q back at it. Let's see if he wins another championship. And last but not least, we have the the Olympic peak. God dang it, Keegan. How do you say this? The Olympic Flygon, coached by Keegan. Keegan is partially bad at Pokemon, but he's pretty funny and has good facial hair. I'm not gonna lie, he has fantastic facial hair. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and talk about this season. If you guys didn't know, BBR is gonna be no Terra this season, which means It's straight up skill, baby. There's gonna be no surprise factor, no wow factor, unless it's team preview being like, why did he bring this? Why does he bring that? Stuff like that. So very much be on the lookout for this season, as this is gonna be a true match of champions this season. And with that being said, let's talk about what I decided to do with ranking and talk about the teams as we go. So I ranked these teams from a scale of 1 to 10. And what I basically did is I looked at the team and see if there was any potential flaws I personally saw that made the team either weak, not fit, like not exactly fit my type of style, but like it didn't look like it was cool to me, or didn't look like it matched up well for what I think the team can do overall. And if I felt like I was missing some pieces, so some people might think I was way too critiqued with it. Some may people think I'm over exaggerating. But here's the fun part, people. These are just opinions. There's a reason these people are in the BBR and I'm not. Well, mostly because I don't have an Elgato or a capture card. So that plays a factor. But regardless of the factor, these people are super talented, and I'm happy that even though this is probably going to be one of the only times I can do a BBR video, you know what? The fact that I have a small part of it makes me feel special of the BBR family. I do want to give a massive shout outs to Jason and OG Albino, aka Owen, for not only Jason to give me a screenshot of all the teams at first, but for then Owen to give me access to the BBR doc, which I promise will be in good hands. I will not try to leak anything. Promise. So, with that being said, the suspense has been long enough. Let's find out whose team is the best. And before we get into one quick announcement, these again are just opinions. Everyone drafted knowing exactly how they needed to draft this season. And overall, I think everyone has a fighting chance for playoffs. And there's definitely some competition for the championship crown this season. So, with that being said, let's talk about the first team. We're going to start off with number 16 on my draft notes here. And unfortunately, number 16 belongs to Keegan in the Olympic Flygon. Now, I'm not purposely doing this to Keegan because there's always the meme that everyone gives the most shit to Keegan. Which he takes it on the chin like a proud man. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. I really just don't like Keegan's team. I think Keegan's team has some things on it that I love, like the Iron Hands and the Oscarata. Love that. Absolute big fans of that. We've got Lanad here, Landorus Incarnate. Getting that in round 5 was actually pretty good value for him there. But if I'm going to be honest, I just don't see how the team meshes well together. You have two stealth rockers. That's it. No T Spiker, no grounded poison, no spikes, no nothing. I'm not gonna lie, this team just it kind of looks boring to me. Like besides the first two, like Volcarona's okay, Screamtail is just bad. Landers is alright, Blastoise is kind of cool, Dragonite he's just overhyped. I'm just gonna say it. Registeel's kind of cool, and Bruxish is just a Bruxish. I just overall don't think there's just anything that's really that scary about Keegan's team. Like, I think on paper, obviously, it has the tools to be good, but I just don't really like Keegan's team. I think it also, like, I feel like for most drafts, there needs to be at least, like, two forms of hazard removal, I feel like, in some way, shape, or form. Not like crazy, but like if you have that one remover can be able to run it every single week and it's not an issue. Blastoise definitely does not want to be defensive every single week. Like, if there's an opportunity for Shell Smash Blastoise, let Shell Smash Blastoise be a thing. But I feel like you're just gonna be forced to run Rapid Spin Blastoise almost every single week, and I just don't like that. I think that's bad. But overall, I ranked Keegan's team a 5 out of 10. Like I said, there's some things about it I kind of do like, but the majority of it just cannot make it, and that's why he is my number 16. But Keegan could prove me wrong. Like there have been a lot of coaches out there that I used to face and play against. They had some of the most random Pokemon and some of the most worst team synergy I've ever seen. They have gone to be undefeated or win leagues. So never judge a book by its cover based off of a team. So coming in at number 15 on the power rankings, and it sucks that I have to do this. But everyone's favorite coiler is number 15. And it really pains me to do this. It really pains me. Also, I'm going to mute this so that stops. It really, really, really pains me to put Dell at 15 because I think Dell can have a great team right here. But let me be honest with you guys. Dell has, with this team, no hazard removal. He's relying on taunt to save his life on it. There's just not enough good synergy with this team. Like I love the screen support that Grimsnarl can provide to both Palafin, Blaziken, and even to Archaludon to an extent. Like I think some of the resistance they have on the team is really nice, but I just like look at his team, man. It's just there's no fairy answer on this team, which I think you think about it like fairies are not that problematic because there's not a ton of great fairies. There's actually a solid amount of fairies out there. So, and you think about it, some fairies that are psychic types or even psychic types in general will do very well because they just need to run one coverage move and then they can just be like Calm Mind or Iron Defense, Cosmic Power, and Store Power and then just sweep through teams. Like, I love the Power Up and Blaziken. I think that's a really cool, effective 1-2 punch combo. But I just I'm sorry, Dell. I really can't. I don't really want to do this to you, man. I like you. You made me a mod in your chat. I don't want to lose my mod status. but I just think the fact that there's only stealth rocks. I mean, you technically have toxic spice with Haunter, but let's be honest, Haunter's not going to do that. Are you really going to waste your opportunity of Haunter to do that? I don't really think so. So I'm sorry, Dell. I'm going to have to put you at 15. I ranked your team actually at a 6.5 out of 10 and I really didn't want to, but it's just how I look at this team. But I believe in the power of D double and the return of Palafin from season 4, I think it was when you joined. It was either season 4 or season 5. I'm expecting Palafin to do good things for you again. And actually tying with Dell at 6.5, but having, I feel like, a better team over Dell. Our number 14 coach, and it kind of pains me to do this to my brother, is the Chicago Pulse in Q, the Costa Rican. Now, I think on paper this is a threatening team, and this is super scary when you look at all the pieces together. But it's just lacking a little bit, in my opinion. Like, I love Sneasler, Zapdos, that was on my team for a season, I think, unless I didn't have Zapdos and I changed it. But, anyways, I love picks like Sneasler, the Zapdos, and then the Krasma. I love Psychic Terrain with the Krasma as well. Like, that is so scary. Like, that is terrifying. I also like the fact that it gives options to also have, like, the Psychic Seed for Sneasler, which is really good to pop on Burden very easily. But if I want to be honest with you guys, I really don't want to do this. There are only like two solid rockers on this team. I know Hydreigon can learn rocks, but Hydreigon never wants to run rocks. And let's be honest, unless he's like a sash lead Mamo, no one's ever running rocks on Mamo. Mamo wants to click buttons because Mamo wants to do damage. Your main form of hazard setting and removal is a Fortress. And let's be honest, Fortress ain't coming along with the matches. So, but I will say heavy duty boots on a couple of these Pokemon doesn't hurt it too badly. But I just feel like, and also the fact that there's like, I mean, Fortress can run Stealth Rock Spikes, Volt Switch, and then something. But other than that, it's just like Fortress just has a limited place. I do like the Veil support though for Necrozma, Sneasler, Hydreigon, even Mamoswine. Like I do love that option of Veil support. But I just, God, man, I really don't want to do this to Q. But I just don't really like. I think this team is synergistically, I know that's not a word, but I don't think it just synergizes well that great together. I mean, it has great pieces that can work together. I just don't know if it all fits together. Especially with Mammoslime wanting to use Ice Shard. I don't know if I really like that with Psychic Terrain. Don't know if I really like that. Same thing with Fake Out for Sneasler. I don't know if I really like that. But I really think Q can make this work. I think Q can show how scary Necrozma can be with having Psychic Terrain as its option. So I'm really hoping Q proves me wrong here. So coming up next, we have the teams that I ranked 7. The lowest I ever gave was a 5, and that was to Keegan. So now we have the two teams that I ranked a 7 out of 10. Or there was only one 7 out of 10. There was actually one 7 out of 10 team. And that team was Pokebaldi and the Dundee Darmanitans. And there's just something about this team that I just don't like about it. Like I like the snow aspect you paired with the Titan. I think that's always really cool. Your only remover is a Serena, and there's no way you're bringing that every single week. Like that is such a hard mon to bring every single week. Now it can definitely come about maybe half, if not a little under half, over half of the matches, like 100%. Other than that, what else is it doing in the matchups? It's not going to do that much. I think having two steel types is a little redundant. Also, this team is massively weak to ground. You are really applying some pressure for for Enamorous, Kilo, and Serena to be that ground check. Garchomp's your only spike user, which is not the worst thing because you could be spikes 3 attack Garchomp and stuff. But I feel like Garchomp does not want to be just a hazard bot for this team. Glowking's your T Spike user, which I don't think is really that great. Heatran can kind of run rocks. King Gambit can be a decent rocker, but I mean, you also have Garchomp. So, but I don't know. And I think the bulk of this team is also a little lackluster. Like, Glowking's a really good spit up wall, and Dundos is a great physical wall. I like that. But I don't know. The bulk is a little lackluster for me. I feel like this is a little bit more of an offensive team, which is not the worst thing, honestly. I love offensive teams. I just don't think this really one works for me. And like, I mean, I like a lot of the picks on here, man. A lot of these are my fan favorites here, but I just generally just don't like the team synergy. I don't think it really pairs well with each other all that great, and just I don't know. I just don't really like it. I just don't really like it. But I respect what's on it though. That's why I gave it a 7 out of 10. I just personally don't care for this team. Honestly, that's just me. I think just how the Mons are put together, I just don't really like it. With that being said, we're going to get into the 7.5 teams, which I believe there was only yes, there was two teams. So, coming in at number 12, just barely number 12. It was really tied between these two teams, but coming in number 12, unfortunately, was T-Row and the Columbus Cabalions. And I think a part of it was the fact that T-Row has just so many, has like a good chunk of repeated typings across his team. Which, I mean, okay, I say good chunk when realistically there's like two. But I feel like the repeated typing is the one problem right there. He has two psychic types and two ground types and we look at his team, he kind of gets beaten down quite a bit. I mean, I love the regenerator core he has with Torrentee, Slowking, and Mienshao. That's really cool. I love that he has two Trick Room options for his team with Slowking and Sylveon. Which, fun fact, if you didn't know, Sylveon does learn Trick Room. So I really love the Trick Room mode he has with having those two options. He's got decent good support options as well with Ursaluna. Slowking to be able to set up the chili reception for Kyurem is really cool. I think Donphan being really rapid spinner is a little bit of a problem because I feel like you don't want to force Donphan to be utility every week. Like there's the option to go Choice Bandit Donphan, as I have once done. But I know Kiro has won a championship with Donphan on his team, and I believe that was BBR League. So I trust him to know that he feels confident in having his only rapid spinner because it might have been his only rapid spinner in that season. He won too. So I'm hoping that he does well with it. I think overall there's some team members on here that I do like. I love the Ursaluna. I love Kyurem. I love Bronzong. Such an amazing Pokemon. So it's gonna be interesting how T-Row does this season. But barely just beating out on T-Row. I combine these two into one. We have Kurt slash Ant for number 11. Now, I didn't want to rank Kurt this low, but to be fair, this isn't Kurt's draft, so he doesn't really care. But I think Ant did a good job drafting for him. I think at the end of the day, the team just kind of. I mean, it works, but it doesn't work in the way I felt like it could work beneficially. But I love the pieces on this team. Like I love Gouging Fire. That is one of my favorite new mons we got from the DLC. Probably my top five, not top 10 best DLC. Well, not DLC. Paldea, Gen 9 Pokemon I've used in this generation. Easy. I love Primarina. I love the Rapid Strike. I put respect on this man's name. There's an Electrode. It's an Electrode. But Iron Treads is a really cool pick. I do not really like Iron Treads being your solo rapid spinner for this team. Obviously, the Dawn Fan family is arguably the best rapid spin family, and more likely the only type of hazard removal options you really need in draft. But I felt like there could have been a use for maybe a defogger or a rapid spinner, seeing as all we have is two stealth rock users. Um, I don't remember if this thing gets T spikes. Oh wait, no. If Glow King can, then this should get it. But I don't think you're really gonna run T spikes. And I guess you could on Galar Slowbro, but I feel like there's some other cool tech you can do with Galar Slowbro that's not just T spikes with it. But anyways, to the point. I just feel like this team is lacking in hazards. I think having a spike user would have been so good on this team. Like any type of spike user would have been great. But I like the Rillaboom pick. I like how it weakens down those ground coverage moves for a decent chunk of the bit for gouging fire and some of the other members here. But Earth Power says hello to you, sir. Because this team is massively ground weak. The only weaknesses that it does not have a ground is the Rillaboom and the Azelf. That's it. Everything else gets bodied by a ground type attack. So there is that. But overall, I think Ant drafted him a really solid team. I'm sure Kurt's gonna have just fun, just clicking buttons with it. And Pictionary was fun. Spoilers on how that draft analysis goes down. It's Pictionary, so you're gonna have a fun time. So coming into the top 10, and this guy actually got a better rating for the team than everyone ever thought. Now, unfortunately, I can't just steal his video to put his draft slides in because BBR just knew his draft slides were just too powerful to use. So they had to use his best representation of his draft slides that he did himself. We have at number 10 the Cotswold Whimsicots and coached by Matt. And Matt's team literally is the definition of when you just want to have fun, you have fun. Like, I think a lot of these pieces can work together. It doesn't synergize the best, I won't lie, but I love it. I personally love this team. There was a lot of great things about it. There was some 8 out of 10 was for this one and one other coach. So this was an 8 out of 10 for me just because I love that it's just so fun. It has a lot of pieces together that can work with it. Some that don't work, some that are repeated typings, which I know I said I hated, but on this is really cool. And I'm not going to lie to you, don't sleep on the Zora. It's a dog. And dogs can create illusions. If you get the meme reference to this, you're legendary. If no, watch Matt. You'll understand what dogs are. Well, even though Great Tusk is your only removal option, I mean, it hurts a little bit, but not like crazy much. Obviously, having like limited rockers and spikers is really great. Is not the best, but Ting Lu can honestly be the perfect spiker and the perfect stealth rocker, and Great Tusk can also be a decent enough stealth rocker as well. Just overall, I think Matt's team is just a lot of fun. I personally would like to just try Matt's team just to have fun with, man. I might try to pull off this strat for a future league. Who knows? But just overall, really like what Matt went with his team, and I think he's gonna do really well. I'm really hoping he does well. Coming in at number 9, we have the Jamestown Judgment, coached by Ark, and Ark's team is pretty solid. I think what barely puts it above Matt's team for me is that it's definitely a little bit more coordinated and actually has good team synergy. But there are some things I don't like about the team. I don't like the fact that your only rapid spinner is a Regieleki. That thing is barely ever going to be brought, and if you're bringing it more than once, someone's paying you money to do that. Um, Corviknight being your defogger is not the worst thing, but Corviknight, in my opinion, has not really been the best Pokemon. Like back in Gen 8, it was amazing, but now in Gen 9, I don't know why. I just don't think it's really been good. I think some of the bonds that are getting that can check that are being checked by Corviknight now can't check it because of the DLC buffs they got. But Corviknight's still not the worst thing. Latios is great support. For Ninja, questionable round 1 pick, I feel like. but with having access to Battle Bond, it makes it kind of worth it. Feel like something else could have went round one. I think you could have gotten Greninja round two, but there could have been a possibility that you wouldn't. But the bulk on this team is also not the worst. It's got some really good special defensive walls and physically defensive things. Decent spike options with Quillfish and Greninja. T spike option with Grounded Poison, and a couple of only two stealth rockers. One that actually sets up rocks and can hit with rocks, and then one that's a rocker and a snake. Overall, I think the synergy is not the worst on this team, but I just feel like it's a little hard of cohesiveness, and I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't mesh that well. But we'll see what Arc does this season. Definitely looking forward to seeing what he does. Now we get into number 8, and we actually had a good couple of coaches with this. We actually had two coaches with 8.5s. Those two coaches being Owen, aka OG Albina, and Obo. And this was an insanely close decision between who got number 8 and who got number 7. And by probably one factor into this, I had to give it to him. Coming in at number 8 is OG Albina and the Golden State Gallades. Now, I don't hate Owen's team. After, like, I actually he comment back to me based on some of the critiques I had, which was about Ghost and Ground. After really looking back at it and looking through all the teams I did look at, Ghost definitely was not that threatening. Like things, if there was like Sarilage in there, then maybe I would have think there was something with having Ghost weakness. But since Sarilage is not drafted, spoilers, and there's not really that many other threatening ghost types, it looks like. The only threatening ghost type we see here is actually the Basca Legion. Then that's only to an extent. I don't remember anything other ghost types I saw. I'm blanking so hard already. But But I think Owen definitely makes a good point about the ghost type. Ground type, though, he agreed he gets absolutely rocked by ground. And ground's one of the most common typings in draft, so that definitely took a big hit to him. And as you can kind of see by Obo's ground type, that kind of made this decision just by 1% lean into Obo. But let's talk about Owen's team, man. Iron Valiant Shi Yu is disgusting. Physical breaker marries a special breaker, and then they have a hazard baby as a result with Glamora, which is a great option for actually rapid spin technically with Mortal Spin, but also getting the option to potentially poison the target with a Mortal Spin, which is also really great. Swampert gives you good momentum with Flip Turn. Metagross is just a solid steel type, arguably the best steel type in this gen. Again, arguably there is debate for some other steel types, but this was probably the best steel type in this gen. Can we just try Metagross with Shift Gear, please, Game Freak? He's not too busted, I swear. I mean, he'd be unswitchable, but hey, it'd be fun. I like how he picked up. He has actually some of the best hazard removal on his team right now because now not only does he have two defoggers on his team with Talonflame and Decidueye, but he technically has the rapid spin option with Glamora, which Glamora's not going to run that a lot, if not at all, this season. So the fact that he has at least two other backup main good choices for defog is fantastic. So, but overall, I think Owen's really relying his bulk on Swampert, Metagross, Decidueye to some extent, and Lantern, which is not the worst. It's not. But I feel like he wants to definitely make Metagross more of an offensive threat in some weeks. He probably wants to make Decidueye more of an offensive threat these weeks. I don't know. I think just again the ground weakness is really affecting him, and I feel like he could have also picked up a little bit more hazards. He's really relying on hazards primarily only in Swampert, Metagross, and Glamora, where Metagross and Swampert have to trade places, either being a stealth rocker most weeks. Glamora can definitely be able to run spikes now in most sense and be able to be a little more versatile, which I think is really great. But overall, I don't know. I feel like there could have been really cool to see another spiker, maybe like a Diancie or a Klefki on this team, possibly. Or I guess more toward Diancie because I think that makes more sense. Or something like that. But I don't know. I just think this, but just a small fraction. Owen's team just goes a little bit. I know he's the reigning defending champion, and he'll shut me up pretty good if he just shows how good his team is. But overall, I think I really like Owen's team, though. It is very hard. I'm definitely glad I don't have to prep for this one. And now I'll talk about the guy that got lucky to pass him. in the standings. We got number 7 here being Obo. And Obo's team, I won't lie, it's not terrible. It's really actually pretty good. There's only like a few things I think is a little troublesome with it. First off, I think he has a really good fairy counterplay with having Jirachi and Iron Moth. Iron Moth actually has a decent enough special defense stat, which is really good, and then Jirachi can be played as a really good physical or mix or even specially defensive. So his fairy resistance is decently well. He actually made transactions. He actually did not have, I believe he did not have Cyclozar, Jirachi, Galvantule, and Sneasel. He had regular Ninetales, Walking Wake, Shift Tree, and maybe one other Pokemon that he trained. Oh, I think I already said Klefki. No, I did not say Klefki. He had that. He made these transactions, and I think the Klefki pick he could have honestly saved because it was a good steel type. Gave him screens, gave him spikes, which I mean, not to say Jirachi's bad. Jirachi's not too terrible, but I think he was better off the Klefki. Getting rid of the Sun though, I don't care for that one. But I do like the fact that he picked up a secondary rapid spinner that's not just Bramble Gas, so I think that was a massive W. And I think web support is actually not bad. That's actually a really good pairing for things like Lando, Moth, Urshi, and even Jirachi to an extent. The Sneasel, though, I don't get the Sneasel pick. I really don't. A secondary dark, or did you just want an ice type? I don't really get it, but okay. And the Florges, eh, it's an okay fairy for this team. It's decently really good wish support, gives him a Spadef wall as well. But overall, just eh, I don't know. I'm not the biggest Florges fan to be honest, so that's kind of a little bit of nitpick there. But I think overall, Owen's team is very. It's weird to say Owen when there's another Owen, followed by an Owen with this Owen and that Owen to this Owen. Have I annoyed you yet? But overall, I really like Obo's team. Obo just did a really good job drafting. It's probably not one of his best, but it's definitely a solid team. And Obo, I don't know. See now, look what I've done to myself. I'm now forced myself to say Owen when even though it is his name, but we just call him Obo to separate Owen and Obo. But Obo can actually probably make a back-to-back playoff run here. He actually has a pretty solid team, so we'll have to see how he does. Up next, we've got number 6. And right now, we actually had a three-way tie with number 9 out of 10 drafts. So these teams basically had very little of me critiquing and had just like the slightest thing that prevented it from being a 9.5 or a 10 alone. So coming in number 6, and I didn't want to do this to him because I promised him brownie points for helping me try to get this all set up. But I think at the end of the day, I have to put him at number 6, just barely. But he is top of the pack, though. He's at least above the halfway limit, so that's what's really important about that. Number 6 coming at you right now is going to be my buddy Jason, aka Diet Tight in the Minnesota Lycan Wolves. And I didn't necessarily had help with him on this draft. I have mentioned to him about Blood Moon. He really wanted Blood Moon. I personally think Blood Moon could have made it back. But again, I told him if that's what he really wanted drafted, he can draft it right away. But it's his decision. He actually got Iron Bundle on the way back, which I'm actually surprised he was able to get that on the way back, honestly. Azumarill, Slytherin, Tinkerman, Hazarud, Noivern, Uxie, Muck, and 2 Pokemon. Um, with playtesting for week 1 with Jason, because I am Jason's pretty much one of his head mocks aficionados that he goes to. Um, Jason's team into his week 1 opponent was shredding me. Like I could barely have any Pokemon because he has a pretty much around 10 Pokemon he can really use. And he had a team of 9. The opponent he was playing only had like 6 to 7, maybe 8 viable Pokemon, and I brought only made one team change out of one of them. This team was just so hard to beat. Like this team has got really good momentum, has great defensive synergy, which is really great. The offensive synergy with having Blood Moon bundle, even Azu when it wants to be offensive, is so rude. He's so great. The only thing I think Jason's team for me, which was lacking from being a 9.5 to a 10, was that I wish we got a spike user. If we had gotten spikes on this draft, oh baby, that would have been so good. Spikes would have been so nice for so many teams out there. But we do have two solid stealth rockers in Tinkaton and Uxie, which both can be either one. Muck is a muck, and Pikachu can probably come to one or two games. Maybe. Mischievous is not a really a Pokemon. I know I got stunted on it in the thumbnail, but that was a lot with Terra, so that's a difference. But I think overall Jason seems really great. I think he has a solid team. I definitely think he can definitely win a lot of games. He's a very talented battler, and I just know how good he is. So, definitely going to be an interesting season for sure for Jason. And coming in at number 4 and 5, and this was honest to God tough, man, because 4 and 5 is either Panther or D Ray, and these two had solid teams overall, both. But I think the one slight little thing that one other coach had was better than the other. So coming in at number 5 in the top 5 is going to be the San Diego Spirits and Grandmaster D Ray. I actually really like D Ray's draft. He has 3 spikes user, which is really cool. He has Gliscor and Ogerpon Quarterstone for spikes, and he technically has a third with his Union Samurai. All he has to do is just connect with Cecil's edges. That's all he's got to do. He has Stealth Rock options in Gliscor and Infernape, but primarily going to mostly be in Gliscor. Um, and just overall, this D-Ray's team is really good. He actually pretty much balanced out his physical offense and his special offense really well. The only thing about this draft that was a little concerning to me, which is I didn't give it a 9.5 or a 10. I just think the more Pecco, I know he's gonna say I'm sleeping on it, but I don't know. I mean, I'm a big more Pecco fan. I used it before in Gen 8, and it did some work. It did some work in some games. So I don't know. I mean, it can do something. Otherwise, I don't think it fits on the team. But your only other than removal option is Tentacruel, and that's your main remover because there's no way you're bringing more Pecco a lot. If you had Terra more Pecco, then maybe I can consider this team slightly better. But I think just overall, I don't know. I just didn't really think it matched up well against the Panthers. But overall, I think he has a solid team. Goldango is one of those mons that I need to try again after only using it one time. I just don't think Goldango's all that great, but I need to try it again, see how good he is. Infernape, I'm a massive fan of that. I love the webs aspect of this team, which is really great. I just love some of the defensive synergy he does have with this team. It's a little bit more on the offensive side, but I think that's just more how D-Ray likes to play his teams, I believe. So there is that. But overall, D-Ray has a solid team, and I'm really looking forward to see how his run goes this season. Now, Panther is number 4, and I don't think there's a reason why I don't put him at number 4. Sand is a guilty pleasure of mine. If you guys don't know, Sand is my favorite weather in Draft League. And Panther is going back to the old school Gen 6, if not Gen 7 meta of Sand with T-Tar Drill, which I think is really great. Now, personally, I'm the bigger fan of Excadrill and Hippo as Sand users. If you've been, guys, I've kind of been seeing the PDA draft videos I've been doing. Definitely check it out on the channel. Definitely do that, please, 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 please. But anyways, I really love what Panther's done here. He's got a really good fire type that really pressures the grass types really well, and he has a really good electric type and even a decent enough grass to help pressure the water types as well with extra drill. Just overall, I do think a little more pressured on Quagsire to be a hazard setter for this team, which might force you to bring Quagsire a lot, which I don't think fits in all that matchups. I also think Galarian Weezing is just a bad Pokemon, so that's just my take on it. But I do like what it can provide. It can provide Misty Terrain support, which means no burning the Excadrill and stuff, which I think is really good. Or even Galarian it with a Pokemon that has Glare, which I think is really great. Just overall, I feel like Panthers team checks a lot of the boxes for Sand. I think besides that, it is a little weird to have a few flying types, a couple of water types, and stuff. I mean, I don't really know. I think what also ultimately left it up for me to say the Panthers team was slightly better than D-Ray. Even though Drill doesn't want to be a spinner, it's still a decent spinner if need be. Court change is actually super sick for Cinderace because of the fact that you can change it with having screens on your side of the field over having your opponents. Defog on Weezing. And I think that was pretty much majority hit. I think again the only thing I really critiqued about this was just the pressure that Quagsire is going to have being a hazard setter for this team. But overall, I think Panthers team is just fantastic. I absolutely love Panthers team. Love it to death, really do. And now we get into the top three where the highest score was a 9.5 across three teams. And one of these coaches was a guarantee number one when I looked at all of them together. So we're going to talk about number three. And number three kicks us up here. And at number three of the BBR season power rankings is going to be Amel of the Montreal Ice Cubes. I actually really like Amel's draft. It is super disgusting in so many nice ways if possible. And the first two picks alone, oh dear God, does that scream annoying. I've seen what Amel can do at Pecharunt, and I don't want to fight the Pecharunt. So Amel, you keep the Pecharunt away. Keep the Mochi Mochi away. Quaquaval being a rapid spinner for the team was really nice. Clefable just being a really nice bulky fairy that pairs really well with this team. Some options of spikes, which is really nice in Chestnut and Sandslash, even though Sandslash, let's be honest, you're not really bringing that thing a lot, if at all, really. I like the option of the few Stealth Rockers on the team as well. He is going to make the Goldoa proud with the Noctowl pickup here, possibly. I don't know. But there's just a lot of things. I think the Baxcalibur is definitely a random pick on this team. I think the Baxcalibur is really weird. Um, I ultimately put this team number three because if you realistically look at Amel's team, he didn't get a Steel type, and his only fairy resist is Pecharunt. And certain fairies with special coverage can kind of be able to, and certain fairies that he fights will have the dark coverage potentially, or psychic coverage for Pecharunt. So I don't know if I really like the option of not having a steel type to help pressure the fairy types with Pecharunt. But I also think the the removal options it's a pretty decent enough option. I don't really count Santa Slash because he's not that great, and I really don't count Defog on Noctowl because it's irrelevant. Spin on Quavel's not terrible. You can definitely run that every once in a while, and then obviously Magic Bounce Espeon is fantastic as well. Overall, Amel's team is very good. I love the Darkrai Pecharunt combo, and it's gonna be really interesting to see how he does this season. Amel finished in semifinals last year, or last season, I should say, last season. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what Amel does this season. I'm more importantly, I'm scared what he does with Darkrai. I'm scared what he's gonna do with that. Whoever's facing Amel and has Darkrai on their mind, you will literally have nightmares trying to prep for this guy. And now we're down to the final two coaches, ladies and gentlemen. John Jr. and 6 Foot Hex, aka Leo, Portland Nightshaders, and the Carolina Haxorus. Which team was the team to beat? Which team was the team to win it all for this season? Number two in the standings was Leo and the Carolina Haxorus. And just, I don't think it was like a just barely. I honestly just preferred John's team over Leo's team. But this looks like so much like a Leo draft to me. He has some of his bulky, fat stuff that he has, and just his wall breakers he likes punching people in the nose with. And just overall, it's just a solid team. The only weird little weak pick he has is a Sligo, which I'm not even going to show you guys. Yeah, but he went with Terapagos round one, which I think was definitely a worthy round one. I think a lot of people would say Terapagos is probably not really a round one, if not a late round one slash round two pick, which is not a bad take, not a bad take at all. But I think Terapagos giving you Rapid Spin, which is really nice. Also having Hattering for Magic Bounce helps get rid of the hazards. You start picking up some Stealth Rockers with Cabalia Clodsire, which is really nice. You also pick up spikes with Ogre Pond, Wellspring, and Clodsire. Um, I do think the hazard setting's just a tiny bit rough because you're kind of forcing Clodsire to do it all. But definitely you can see Cobalion running Stealth Rocks every once in a while, and even Ogre Pond running spikes every now and then. But I really like that first three. That first three is really good. I love the pairing between Ogre Pond and Rory Moon. The offense on those two together is just disgusting, and it's going to be a real hard hitting defensive offensive approach that he's gonna have there. I love the special wall breaking aspect that he has in Pyroar plus Thunderous. It's really good. He's got stupid fat and Hattering, Alamola, Clodsire, and Sinistra. Just oh god, that's gonna be so annoying to deal with. And I know he loves himself some Alamola. And just overall, Leo seems really great. This literally looks a draft I would see Leo drafting every single time. It is that good of a team that I think it just matches Leo's personality and his draft perfectly. And with that being said, I already talked about it and I already said it, but John's team's number one. Now, if John kept his original team, which had Deancey, Manaphy, Dunsparce, Weezing, I would probably say John's team would have still probably been either a tie for one and two, but with this new form team he has, it's an easy number one. Now, the big thing about John's team is he is going to struggle against good fire types, which, speaking of fire types he's going to face, look on the left and look on the right. Good luck, John. But overall, I love John's draft. John's draft is super fun. It's super his style. Like, he has got three Pokemon with spikes. He has two Pokemon with Stealth Rocks. Well, technically three, but he's not going to usually do that with an Annihilate. He has great over. He has great toxic spikes options with Overquill. He has a sticky web option for this team, which sticky webs with Latios and Annihilate and Weavile is oh god. I don't want to fight that, man. I think just how John has built this team is just fantastic. It's really amazing. It's gonna be interesting to see John use Comfey. I don't think I've ever seen him use Comfey before. So if I start seeing Comfey on thumbnails, we're gonna see a new emote, and I don't know how I'm gonna feel with the Comfey email emote there. But overall, John's team, man, just Skarmory. I mean, I've kind of seen the light of Skarmory nowadays. Skarmory's not that bad of a Pokemon, but it definitely was kind of a carry for John and JDDL's Wi-Fi. Big man, the Overquill is definitely going to put his work in this season because he's not going to just be defensive. He will be offensive with this thing every once in a while. And he's just a strong Pokemon. Annihilate and Latios, though, man. Like, that core is just disgusting. And I think he actually really patched up the fairy weakness of his draft because Sizzle was his only fairy check, but now having Skarmory can provide is a really good option for another fairy check, which can be the physically defensive fairy check, or has Sizzle be the specially defensive fairy check, one or the other. Which overall, I love John's team. John's team is very fantastic. Again, the only other nitpick I had with his team as well was besides the fire weakness, he only has Scissor to defog, which is not going to be the end of the world for John. I know he can definitely work around it, but just overall, it's just amazing, man. This is just an amazing team by John. He honestly didn't say. I mean, even in his old team, he said it like a 7 or 8. Then I said this was the most John Jr. draft, and even looking at this is the most John Jr. draft I've ever seen. Minus the Comfey. That just seems like a weird pick for me. Maybe the Araquanid too, possibly. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, which is possibly a lie because this is not made for children. That is the BBR power rankings. Sorry if the video is a lot longer than it's intended to be. I didn't think I was going to make it to a lot of talk, but I figured I'd introduce all the coaches to you guys if you never checked out the draft stream, which D-Ray hosted. But overall, like I'm just super excited I was able to do something for BBR and have something of BBR content for you guys. And plus, no one really does power rankings. No one really does this or that for the BBR really at all. So I figured, you know what? Let's do something fun. And maybe if this goes well, I could be the power rank specialist for BBR going into the future seasons. Especially if you fans of the BBR want me back as well. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget to check out everyone in the description that is a part of the BBR. Week 1 battles, I believe, are going up on Saturday, so get hyped. I know that about few results, but I'm not going to spoil because I like to leave you guessing in the dark. But overall, be hyped, get excited. And like I said, this video will be uploaded either later on Saturday or will be uploaded on Sunday where the transactions have been fully transferred over. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. And with that being said, I say that a lot. I'm sorry. I will see you guys next time. Peace.